Good morning, everyone. I wanted to ask a question on you guys this morning. And that is to ask where we are and what we're going to do now. I know that some people believe in, that tactics have to be private and shared among those on the down low. But anymore, it's very difficult to be able to share what's on your mind with a few of the people, because you never really know who is willing to step up and who's willing to back off. I was writing a post this morning, and I had seriously contemplated my years of activism and hopefully my contribution. Hopefully it's a good one. And to ask where we are. I believe that we're in a very serious situation right now. We have the IRS and we have the FBI, and although that we've seen how rogue these agencies really are, I think the line has been drawn in the sand, and I think this is just this isn't the only time, but it's one more time. It's a big time where they have really declared war on the citizens by what they're doing. The video of their training, whether it's true or not, I assume it is, because they are rogue agencies. But I had a couple of comments, and I'm throwing caution to the wind here because I think somebody needs to. I had reached out to several of my friends on different Telegram channels and things of that nature, asking a basic question. Now that you have the Biden administration and you have Congress and you have all of these rabid Marxists and these neocons that are placating to the Marxists to try to bring about whatever it is their agenda is, the citizens are left dumbfounded with all of the things that are happening, because we're completely overwhelmed and we're not really sure what to do. One of the things that I've seen throughout my time in activism is that we're always looking for a savior. I think we want a king. We've always wanted a king. Biblically, we've wanted a king, and to expect that people and human nature is going to be any different shows the fact that we really don't know our history. The sad part about it is that it's very, very important for us to be able to understand where we are. They have drawn the line in the sand. They have empowered agencies. They're not even government agencies. And many of you guys know now that the Federal Reserve is not federal, and it isn't a reserve, and it isn't a government entity, but yet somehow they have the power to be able to create boom-bust economies and to manipulate economies for their desired end. To no surprise, you have these agencies that have completely gone rogue over time, like the IRS and the FBI and the CIA and things of that nature, and yet somehow they get very little attention. And people are focusing on who they're going to vote for in the local election, and it seems that's about all that they can handle. The sad part is maybe I'm missing something, but there really needs to be something more. It's one thing to be able to vote elected officials into office, and I don't want to condemn anybody necessarily that has been working on those efforts, because somebody needs to. But what my question is why everybody has to do it? Why all of these organizations are focusing solely on elections, and it just seems like nobody else is focusing on the elephant in the room. Is it safe to say yet that we are in the midst of an emerging global government? Or do I just need to be the radical, tin-hatted conspiracy theorist feeling like I'm standing alone in a room going, hello, we've got a 900-pound gorilla in the room, and he's about ready to eat you and your children. If gorillas ate people. Right? So what we have is we have these rogue agencies, 73, 83,000, whatever, I don't know. The numbers are all bogus anyway, because there's probably way more than there is anyways. But let's see if we can try to put this together. So there were some stories years ago about these rogue agencies that were given money and ammunition by our government. Millions of rounds of hollow point ammunition, which according to people that shoot are telling us that hollow points are really for flesh. And if that's really true, then maybe we ought to take a real hard look at where the IRS came from. Maybe we ought to look at the origin of how they were created and what their original charter is and whether they're constitutional or not. Whether they actually had and were considered law enforcement, and when they actually got that authority, and whether that authority was actually a legal or lawful delegated authority And we might as well do that with the other organizations too. The problem is if everybody's so narrow focused on our local elections, the global government is not receiving any resistance to what is happening right now. What they're doing is they're implementing this inflation plan, and I haven't read the bill. I don't need to read the bill. And why do I not need to read the bill? And I probably should, but I don't really need it. Because if they're funding $8 billion or whatever it is to the FBI, and they're a rogue agency and they're not even government elected by the people, and they're certainly not constitutional, what the hell are they doing with money from the taxpayers? And you could ask the same thing for the FBI. Is the FBI a law enforcement agency, and is it constitutional, and where do they get the authority from? And do they get to just be able to do the bidding of the tyrant dictator in the executive branch and decide who the hell is the political prisoner so they can pick them off? Meanwhile, we've got political prisoners in this country, and people are more worried about, what did Edmund Bundy say? I don't know. He was arrested. I'm going to put his mugshot on Facebook and say, oh, does he look like a governor to you? You know, it's really funny because the government does exactly what it wants, and people do exactly what the government want. And we sit there and we fight about it. You know, some of us do and whatever, because some of us read and some people don't. And they'll just post stuff on there just like a leftist, right? This guy's a quasi-patriot, right? Post this on her. Does that look like a governor to you? Well, let's just ask what the motive of somebody is. If I'm arrested, does anybody ask why? Does anybody ask, would I align with somebody that agrees with the guy that got arrested? What if he was the only option that Idaho had to be able to stop the federal tyranny from coming to your doorstep? Would that matter? It certainly should matter. And the other thing to think about is, who else has actually stood on the side of the people, regardless of what you think and regardless of what you feel, and who's taken the hits and sacrificed his life and his fortune and his family and endured federal hardship in a federal penitentiary, and the government spends $1 million of your taxpayer dollars to be able to try to be able to screw this guy, and he ends up walking away scot-free. This is not a Bundy endorsement, but damn it! What are you guys focusing on? And I know so this is not a damn it to all of you guys. It's just to be able to ask, where the hell are we? I posted stuff on Facebook. Well, we got a climate change bill, which is globalism, Agenda 21, like I'm posting on Facebook all the time. And if you don't know what Agenda 21 is, and you're politically active, you might as well hang your shit up and go home. If you're not going to focus on the global agenda that is coming to you, and it's coming to your kids in every way possible, and they're coming to remove you from your property, and they want you to eat bugs for a living, and they want you to be able to give up your car, and they want you to be able to give up your national sovereignty, and they want to give up your ability to have children, don't you think you ought to pay attention? Do I need to placate to you and be soft to you and give you a soft, sweet message so I don't seem extreme? Or is it okay with everything that's going on that I can say things the way I feel because it's absolutely true and it's absolutely important that you're paying attention to what this is? You could say, oh, I don't know. Why are you yelling at me? It's because so many people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're focusing on local elections. They're not focusing on the elephant in the room. And I'm sitting there trying to pull my brain out of my head going, what's it going to take to wake you people up? The federal government is a rogue agency. The FBI is a rogue agency. They're finding political prisoners. They're doing the bidding of your tyrant dictator in the executive branch. They're empowering and they're doing the bidding of the sheriffs. Your city council is controlled. The GOP is controlled. Your commissioners, for the most part, are controlled. And if they're not, do you know for sure? Have you visited with them? Have you visited with your police? Have you visited with your sheriff? Oh no, that Tom Munz, he's going off to the dark side because he supports local law enforcement. Who the hell else are you going to educate? Just because you think you know everything? Oh, I've been this and I've been that and I've been studying this stuff for a long time. But we have one problem. We have one problem in everything I've seen. Everybody says that. Oh, I'm pretty smart. I know everything. I've focused on all this stuff. Well, can it be a logical conclusion to suggest, now that you know everything, is there a problem with you educating other people so that they know stuff too? And people will go, oh, well, education, it's too late to educate people because we're losing our country. Well, you know what? What makes you think that? Because if you understand history and you understand the communist plot against a free world people, they want you to be able to fall like ripe fruit into their hand, believing that there's no chance you can win when you don't even know if that's possible or not. Are you not now a useful idiot because you have given up? I'm too scared. They might put me on a list. I'm too scared. They might remove me from my home. Well, what if they remove you from your country? What's going to be left for your children? I don't understand what I can say, if I can say anything to anybody, to be able to say, should I slap you upside the head and have you understand the seriousness of the things that we're facing right now? Or do you think you can get that on your own? And if you get that on your own, do you understand the next logical sequence is to be able to work on your neighbors? I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about a rally about the FBI and the IRS. We already know if we end up doing that, what's going to happen, don't we? We saw what was going to happen with January 6th. They're picking people off just because they politically opposed the tyrant dictator. And he's being exposed for the true bastard he really is. And by doing that kind of force, they're forcing us to make a choice. We all have a choice to make. Whether you decide or whether you understand that you're there or not, you are. You have a choice to make. You're either gonna back away because you're freaking scared, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being scared. But you have another option too, and that's to double down. So the question before you today, with everything that is happening, and of course we don't really know, right? We could be up against this life and death decision, and we could choose life and tyranny instead of death and freedom. I could be that way. But at this point in time, are you seriously contemplating your future and that of your children and deciding whether you want freedom more than you want the chains of tyranny around your neck? Because if you're not thinking of it yet, you're going to be forced to think about it. And the federal government that you're giving money to, that is using its money to be able to be used against you to enslave all of humanity, is going to force you to make that decision. So I have no fear of posting this video. I don't have any fear about posting anything anywhere about what is true, because it can't be argued. What my fear is people not engaging when they need to engage in the face of the enemy, especially when the enemy has openly exposed itself to you over and over and over again. Are you willing to be able to stand and be pointed out and have retina displays and things collected against you? Are you willing to be able to have that data collected against you? Well, if you're on Facebook, I would arguably say, yeah, you're there. You're there. The question is there's a lot more to life than just posting on Facebook. There's a matter of action that needs to be considered. And although you can say you know everything and you're not going to educate others, can we also say that I act but I don't want to empower others? Because it seems to me, I remember one of our founders, I think it was Ben Franklin, it was a quote I use a lot. And basically it goes like this, if I can remember. If we don't hang together, we will certainly hang separately. And that's a paraphrase. But it's definitely something to consider, isn't it? So, in my perceived fit of rage, when I shouldn't be angry about the federal government abusing my friends and my countrymen and our states and our form of government and our money, I beg to differ. I think it's time to double down. And if nobody else is going to say this, then let it go on the record that I did. Because somebody needed to say it. Well, those are a couple of thoughts I have for you guys today. I hope you find it worthy. Those are definitely how I feel. It's definitely how I'm wishing other people would feel. But it's time to double down, or we're going to lose this thing. And we're going to lose the whole damn thing. And it's something that we should consider. And before you start blaming Butch Otter, or you start blaming Brad Little, or you start blaming Obama, or you start blaming somebody else, the one thing you need to look at is point the finger right back at yourself and say, what am I doing as an American patriot? Do I understand the Constitution? Do I understand the principles of liberty? Do I understand history? Do I understand current events? Do I understand the incremental conspiratorial elements undermining American liberty? And if I don't, where can I get that information? And is it too late for me to get that information? Let me tell you, it's never too late. It's never too late. So God bless you guys in your actions. There's a lot to contemplate. All I wanted to do is go on the record because I haven't seen anybody else do it. So if you find anybody else that's talking about it, please share it on my Facebook feed. Thanks.